Welcome to Photography Lockdown. This week's challenge is an interesting one. This week we are looking at Mini Beast Safari. I'm going to be your judge unless we can get a guest on board. Now, if you're new here and you don't know about Photography Lockdown, please click the little thing popping out above me right now. Go and have a look, it'll explain all about it. It is a series of weekly tutorials and mini challenges where you can upload pictures to a Facebook group. We're going to do some judging, and then the following week someone will be announced as the winner, and we're going to do some critique and feedback. This is so you don't waste this lockdown time. Don't go stir crazy, and we can use this time productively to improve our photography skills and our creativity. It's very difficult trying to get creative with somewhere that we're intimately familiar with, such as our own homes. This week's hashtag is on the screen right now. Please remember, if when you upload your pictures, you must include that hashtag or it won't be included in the judging. Images must be uploaded by midnight UK time this Thursday. Midnight UK time this Thursday. Please don't upload after that because you won't be included in the judging. So Mini Beast Safari. What could that mean? Well, unfortunately, when I furloughed my butler Prestwick and the rest of the household staff, they went around and gave the place a real good clean. They took the pig that I use as an air freshener out of the bathroom, put him back in the field out the back, and they got rid of all the cobwebs and everything. So I've got a problem. So what have we got here that I can use as mini beasts? Well, we have Lens Mouse. Lens Mouse was given to me by Irene Carson. Irene, if you're watching, Lens Mouse is still rocking. Lens Mouse is for cleaning lenses. She made him. You give your lens a little clean with him. Then there is also our old friend, Lobby the Killer Crustacean, Lobby the Lobster. You can always practice with your lobster. He is in several of my online courses. So this is not so much about interpreting the theme of Mini Beast Safari. It's more as much as it is about creating some interesting pictures with what you have available. I want to see how much work you've put into this. You've got several days, so really this is a great opportunity for you to practice. Lens Mouse first. Where would Lens Mouse be? What kind of jungle would Lens Mouse run through? Well, I would suggest photographic equipment. Now, I don't have a great deal of kit, so I've dug out my other two lenses. I've got the 18 to 55 on the camera body. I've got a 10 to, I think it's 24, I was lucky it's written on the front, and a 55 to 200 long lens there. The only other thing I could find which seemed to fit the bill was this little light, little LED light. So let's have a look. We've got some interesting light coming through this window onto the table, and I'm hoping we can light up Lens Mouse and make him look a bit cool. Let's pop him in to his environment. Here we go. Let's pop Lens Mouse down there and put a bit of video through here so you can see what I am looking at. Now then, let's get Lens Mouse in focus. And there we go. Now with the lens wide, it's not particularly interesting, is it? But you can see we have got some nice light. There's a nice highlight on the side of the lens here. There's a little rim light on Lens Mouse's face, just sort of coming along here. If we were to zoom in a bit, what will happen? As we zoom in the lens, look, that's starting to look a little bit more interesting. Let's keep Lens Mouse down here, just in this sort of forest of photographic equipment. Here we go, here we go. Look at that. I think that is probably pretty good. What about exposure? How would we do this? Well, it is quite bright behind, but as you just saw in that little piece of video, there isn't a lot of highlight. The camera's meter will probably get this about right. But the important thing to consider here is depth of field. We want the viewer concentrating on Lens Mouse, not looking at the lenses. They're just sort of playing supporting roles. So I want to use a wide aperture. I also want to use the lens as long as I possibly can, because if I can do that, then we can make the depth of field a little shallower. Distance to subject is one of the most important things. I'm just making minute adjustments from where I had the camera. Now, can I focus? I think I can. Let's change this onto single point and put it back into photo mode and see what we can come up with. Here we go. Yes, the beep tells me we're focusing, so let's just move a little closer. There we go. Now, I've got a wide aperture to give me the shallow depth of field. What sort of shutter speed do I need? Well, the camera's on the table, it's not going anywhere. So it doesn't really matter if it's a bit slow. Currently I want 800 ISO, so let's reduce that a bit. Let's take that down somewhere around the 320, 250 mark and slow down the shutter speed so we get our exposure back. You have to compensate one for the other. Looks about right to me. I'm going to take that shot there. It's kind of nice, isn't it? But look how bright that piece of background is. Your eye's always drawn to the brightest area of the picture. Now watch, just the tiniest little movement as I move the camera to the right a bit, we have now lost that really bright highlight. I'll take the picture again so you can see it. That's a bit better, isn't it? I want it a bit brighter. Here we go. I think that's going to look better. I just want to kind of, there we go. Just little adjustments, tiny little adjustments. It's small movements of the camera, how you move it left and right and up and down and twist it. Composition is a function of arms and legs and hands and feet. Light is a function of looking to see where the light's coming from, watching for shadows and highlights. We've got a slight rim light on LensMouse and it makes it look kind of interesting. So that's one thought, but what else? There's only one bit of greenery that I have in here. Let's go over there and see what we can do. Now, I may have to make a couple of trips to bring you guys with me. I got the phone here so we can see what is going on in the camera. Tell you what, let's take you over there and I'll come back for my camera. We're probably going to have to adjust the exposure. Now, I've got this plant here. Yes, it's a bit brighter here, isn't it? It's because the camera isn't being confused by all that light behind. So I think it's somewhere around there, but I might just reduce the exposure just a touch. Oh, I don't think I can. I can't. It's going to be a little bit bright, guys. Sorry, I can't change the exposure once the camera is rolling. So if it's a bit bright, you're going to have to live with it. Now then, pop you down there so I can see. I'll go and get my camera. Let's see what we can come up with. Let's give LensMouse another go, shall we? This is the only greenery we've got. What's the light doing? We've got light coming in from over there. It's not quite as bright as to the right. We've got a bit of light coming from a window above, up here. But let's see if we can use some of these shapes, some of these lines as leading lines to lead us back to LensMouse. Let's get him having a little squeaky look around on a plant. How's that? Now, unfortunately, his moustache is a little bit crooked. I'm trying to straighten it out. I don't know if that's better or not, but it is, I think, as you can see, a fine moustache. Here we go. Let's sit him in there. This isn't about interpreting the theme perfectly, remember. This is about finding interesting ways to create some pictures. So, what have we got? Change that mode again and see. So, there's LensMouse sitting on top of a plant. How can we alter things? Well, there are so many ways we could do this. How about looking at LensMouse from above, looking straight down? That's kind of interesting. What if we got in a little closer? Then we can use those lines to bring us straight back to LensMouse. That's kind of nice. And even though there's that leaf here, which is just kind of clipping over him, I kind of like it. I might even go a little higher to bring in some more leaves, some more lines. I think that is quite a good possibility. How about looking along these lines here? How would that work? The light isn't bad at all. It's quite nice. Now look at that brightness behind. That isn't good, is it? So we can change that by raising up our camera. Look, now we've lost that nasty bright highlight. Can we go closer? Can we come closer and still use those shapes? Of course we can. Look at that. Too close, we can't focus. Somewhere around there. That's interesting. I think I prefer the shot from above. But in a minute we're going to try popping him down in amongst the foliage. First of all, let's take those two shots. So again, exposure, what do we want? Well, we still want to keep that shallow depth of field really, don't we? So that LensMouse is, I hope this is working because that has frozen. So LensMouse is the center of attention. Let's come above here and do that shot. So we want our lens a little longer. Right, we've got the shallow depth of field still, which is nice. The exposure is pretty much bang on. 15th of a second though, that is way too slow. Need to speed up that shutter speed, don't we? Sorry, I'm turning the wrong dial. Let's get that shutter speed up around, I don't know, 30th. Make sure the image stabilizing is on. Good. Now, we don't want to change our aperture. We can't anyway, it's as wide as possible. So let's pimp that ISO a bit. Let's increase the ISO to get the exposure about right. I think that's about right there. So I'm now running a 500 ISO. Let's get our shot lined up and go for, let's turn it that way a bit. There. That's rather nice, isn't it? I like the way the light is coming in from the front here. I think it looks pretty good. Ned's mouse is well lit. Now let's try this shot from in front and let's try some different angles. So the lens was long. We want to try and get so we don't capture that annoying bright area behind. We're as close as we can go to get the shallowest depth of field and get him level. There. It's okay. It's not as interesting, it's not as graphic as the down shot, is it? What about if we pop lens mouse in amongst some foliage? Would that work? What happens if we try popping them in here? I don't know. Again, using these lines from the leaves to see how it works. Now I'm going to pop the camera in between the foliage and see if this is doable. I don't know, haven't tried it. See if we can look through. Look. Now. Look, we're kind of looking through the foliage. This camera's struggling with its focus, but there we go, it's not bad. We come in from here. Now looking up at lens mouse is not quite so good. It's okay, looking down worked better. So could we do a little bit of looking down? Can we bring a bit of that foliage in? You know, these are all things that you can experiment with and try. It's okay, it's not bad. What about if we go down further into the plant and see how that looks? Let's see what we can come up with. I'm not sure, there's a little, can we support lens mouse in there? Because I quite like that light, and he's looking up. There's some very nice light there. It's coming in from the side. It's coming from where you guys are. Can I interpret that into a shot? I think we can. It's the light that's more important here. Possibly in the composition. Now that, what do we got? There's something covering his moustache. It's that stalk there. Can we move it? Yes, we can. Look, if we bring the camera around here, that is a little more interesting, isn't it? There's a shot, potentially. The light on the mouse is pretty good, but I'm still not 100% convinced. What if we turn him round the other way, see what it looks like? This is all photography is. It's about experimentation. It's about seeing what works. What happens if we go this way and try shooting slightly against the light? I'm coming around the back here. I think you can still see me. Let's see. Oh, that's quite interesting. If we come back, give him a bit more space, we can go into another version of a down shot. I think the light is a little too flat here. It was better on the other side. How about Lobby? How about Lobby the lobster? Because as we know, all lobsters like to climb around in plants, don't they? Let's try bringing Lobby down here and using some of these plant stems, hoping he will stay there. There are some stems down here which you can't quite see, so I need to video it. Here we go. Nice light. You see these plant stems here? We're using these as lines to run you back to my best lobster. I don't think it looks too good. I'm not really sure about this. Let's try coming in from a different place, seeing how that looks. Here we go. I'm not entirely convinced by this. I think putting a lobster in a plant was probably not a great idea, because what we've got here is too much pot, isn't it? Too much plant pot, too much floor. We can see the corner, the coving. What if we turn him round the other way so the light's a bit more interesting, and just see whether it's possible to use some of these leaves here to lead down to Lobby. I don't know. These are all things that we have to try. Let's see. Something like that maybe. We have a little plant climbing lobster. That's quite good. I kind of like that. I like the light and I like the angle. So without further ado, I'm going to take that picture as well. This is just experimentation. Please don't make the mistake of thinking that all professional photographers just immediately rush out and get amazing pictures first time. They have to think their way through things. We all do. Now, I think that's a tiny bit dark. It's not bad though. I might brighten it a bit. Again, I don't want to mess around with my shutter speed or my aperture because I've got the aperture for depth of field reasons. I've got the shutter speed where I want it so I don't get camera shake. So I've increased the ISO a tiny bit again. We're now at 640 ISO. I do quite like that light. Where was I? It was somewhere around here. That is some quite nice light on our best lobster. You get the idea. You have got all the time in the world to have a play with this, to practice it, see what you can come up with, see what your creativity can manage, and then shoot us an interesting picture showing off your skills with composition, with light, with being creative. Creativity isn't something you just get. It isn't something you read a book and you're suddenly creative. We are all creative in different ways. Whatever that may be, creative accounting, it could be creativity in building things, creativity in the way you run your business, the way you think, creativity in the way you get your kids to do as they're told. We've all got a level of creativity. It's just about how we direct it. If you're struggling with composition, this is such a great exercise. If you hate it, that means it's an even better exercise for you. If you're struggling with what I just said to you about why I changed the ISO to adjust my exposure as opposed to the shutter or the aperture, please go take a look at my Ultimate Beginners online course, because there's only a handful of controls on a camera you actually need to know about. And once you've mastered them, you can then concentrate on the cool stuff, the real photography, light, composition, where to stand, when to click, the angles, all that brilliant creative stuff. Now, I know there's loads of free stuff out there online. Of course there is. What you're paying for when you buy a course is for me to be your guide, to feed you the information in the correct sequence, in the right order, so that you don't try something you've seen in a video somewhere and go, well, why didn't it work? It's because you don't know something that should have gone before it. So please go and have a look. There's a link popping up here now. You can go there right this minute. Go and check it out. If you want to bring your photography onto the next level, now's a good time. Also, don't forget, go to the page in that link and you can find out all about Photography Lockdown, what you need to do, how to enter the competitions, what's going on, etc. Anyway, I look forward to seeing you on Sunday to see what your Mini Beast Safari looks like.